Okay, we're gonna be watching SausNewsy. I don't really know how to pronounce this. Playing Reinhardt, Winston, and Rammatra on Dorado. This is Diamond 2. I'm currently Diamond 2. I play Ryan, Monkey, Ram. Here, this was an overtime game where at one point they had a lever. In my opinion, this game shouldn't have been a loss, but it is what it is. Normally just a really aggro Ryan. Sometimes it's a death to me. Other times I get profit. I'm still currently learning the balance between feed and cover. The game over was pretty good. Can't say the team as a whole played bad or we had one weak link. It was a pretty competent team versus another. One thing I can think of differently here is the final second point of OT. We either wipe quicker or kill a pocket Genji on point. We do neither. I die late, so I wasn't able to make the touch of an otherwise winnable fight if we had touched or pushed it a little farther. Okay, so I done a pre-watch of this. It's very long, so I'm not going to do a replay of the whole thing. But I have notes here. I would start with 3 overall things that kind of go wrong here, and then a final summation point. Number 1, I would say that their tank outplayed you this game, despite the fact that you got more resources. So you get, I think, every single nano in this game. As far as I've watched, I don't know, like 60-70% of it, you get every single nano this game, despite the fact that you have a Genji on your team who blades multiple times and never gets the nano, as opposed to their Genji gets nano every single time and wipes your team basically every time, I think. So that's number 1, is I think their tank played better than you did overall over the course of the game, despite the fact that they did not get nano and you did consistently. Number 2, the Genji on their team was a huge problem for your team. You can't not win against their tank and not shut down the DPS. Okay? Like, that is not a winning formula to win a game. It's going to put your team in a really hard position if you're not winning the tank battle and you're not winning the tank versus DPS battle. Number 3, your decision making on defense is noticeably worse than your decision making on offense. I think your offense was okay. Like, if you only had to play offense, this feels like 50 to 52% win rate. Like, I feel like you could probably climb like a little bit out of diamond at this point. If you had to play only defense, I think you would drop to low diamond. It's significantly worse on defense. Like, it's very obvious how much worse you are at defense. Okay, so we're going to do a bunch of different timestamps here. Number 1, so we're going to watch this exchange right here at roughly 113. So you're hitting, great, everything's going well, great, whack, and then you back off. Why did you back off? You had 480 health and their Rhine is almost dead. Okay, so you're trading, trading, super low, right? Super low. He's 102 health, all right? You could have one-tapped him right here with hammer, firestrike, instantly dies, and then this fight is over. Okay? But that's not what ends up happening. You end up making another mistake later. I'm just clarifying that you stopped swinging at a bad time. This is a bad read by you. Okay? Oh yeah, I forgot my overall point. I'm going to reverse. My overall point that I want to make here is, in order to climb, right? In order to climb, at least to climb quickly, not like very slowly, 51, 52% win rate. In order to climb, you can't be as good as your peers. You must be clearly better. And I would say that you have to dominate the opposing tank matchup at a minimum. And when I say dominate, I mean like the teams that look at it and be like, wow, their tank is way better than our tank. Like, he's like rolling over us. And if you want to see what that looks like, I actually have a bunch of videos on my channel when I was playing Rammatra. And you can see when I played the Rammatra games in Diamond and even in Masters, like even in High Master, I'm just completely rolling the opposing tank. Like, the opposing tank just keeps swapping, and no matter what they swap to, I just completely steamroll them the entire game. That is what climbing looks like on a fast basis, where you're just a level above everyone else. And the goal as a player, assuming you want to climb, is to figure out, how can I be that dominant? Things like this moment right here where you don't insta-kill this Rhine are why you aren't dominant, because you make these little mistakes, and they seem like little, but they add up. They really add up over the course of the game. And then the game ends up being relatively close, right? So you don't have to get that much better for this to turn into from a close loss to a close win, and then a little more than that, you go from a close win to a blowout win. All right. So we're going to play this out from here. Or actually, we're going to jump forward a little bit. So you're at the choke for a while, blah, 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 blah. So what really gets you killed is right here. So the ride's going to charge. So you're slow to react to this, and then you get bumped, very luckily. But once this happened to you, you should have immediately canceled right away. I don't even know if you can cancel it faster than that, but like basically charging in the air is a mistake. But now that you're over here, what you should have done is you should have shielded this way. Because what ends up shredding you here is the turret plus the torb absolutely blowing up your back, and then you can't get the shield back up. Because you've already done most of the hard work here. Getting this far in the choke usually leads to a win. The Genji, after he uses deflect, your team is going to walk in this way, take space, and it's over. Typically, once a defensive team is squished here, this ends up being a win. So I think all you had to do was stay alive here, and this would have been a win. But of course, you die, and because you die, the fight ends up being lost, and you end up having to take it again later. All right, 302. So you've capped first point. Things seem like they're going pretty well. By the way, the Orisa completely wrecks you when you're playing Ryan, which I think makes sense. I think Orisa is favored in the matchup against Ryan. But let's roll this back a little bit again. We're going to be coming out. So you're trying to be aggressive here. Orisa notices that you are overextended. Okay, you're overextended, alone. Your team is not able to help you because the cart just got here. Your Ana's around the corner, and she does a kidnap. A kidnap is where she gets behind you and then spins you towards your team, or her team rather. Right? You're getting spun. You're being kidnapped. The Ana doesn't have line of sight of you. She javelins you towards the team. This is a really good play by her, right? She even almost knocks you out of line of sight. Burns you with damage, right? You get grenaded here. Your Ana, I assume you're queued with your Ana, right? Based on the names. You get super low here, and then your Ana nanos you to keep you alive. This is bad, right? This is 100% your mistake. You forced your Ana to nano you, otherwise the fight was lost. Unfortunately, the Genji decides to blade right now, possibly because he thought that maybe he got the nano, but he decides to blade right now with no nano. Let's watch the Genji, okay? He's going to slash, right? Again, that would have been insta-kill with nano. He tries to go over here, and then he dies. So the Genji with nano, which maybe could have wiped the whole team, can't do it. Instead, you get nano. But what do you end up doing with it? Well, you killed the Torb, right? You charge, you go over here, you swing, and then you end up having to back up, right? Mercy tries to res the Genji, you don't shield it, Mercy dies, and then what could have been an easy fight win, if your Ana just simply nanoed your Genji, ends up being not anything, right? In fact, I think you guys might even lose this fight. Yeah, you're going to lose this fight. Maybe. It's close. Regardless, you can see that it could have been a clean win with Nano Genji Blade. But you didn't get that because the Genji didn't get nanoed because you were out of position because you got nanoed. And it makes me wonder, because one of the things you mentioned in the other thread we were talking about was like, oh, how do you ask DPS who aren't being effective to switch? It's possible, I didn't realize that you were duo queuing. Duo queuing in some ways can be harder than solo queuing because whenever you duo queue, there's also a duo on the other team. So the other team ends up being better than on average compared to the rank because there's more coordination. And if your support is constantly, for example, feeding you nanos, your DPS don't get nanos, which is unusual because typically in this situation, the Genji should get nano. Genji is far more flexible and a better killer than Ryan is, right, with Blade. So for your Ana to feed you nano here ends up being a big mistake. And if on average, if you are playing Ryan and your support partner is playing Ana and you are getting nanos, that would significantly reduce the average value you will get from the DPS on your team. Just noting that. I don't know if that's actually true. Just hypothesizing, that could be a reason why you feel like your DPS are underperforming, is because your support over-indexes on you, trying to keep you alive versus trying to help your DPS, which they would if it was a normal, like everyone's a random stranger game. Also, I would note, because you get nanoed so much, you get more shatters on average, but because you don't get enough value out of them, it ends up being not so good overall. Okay, so we're going to big jump ahead here to 558. So over here, we're going to have this fight. You're going to walk forwards. All right, it's 5 and 5. So again, the Orisa's like, oh, okay, this Ryan is overextended, right? She does another kidnap attempt right here, knocks you out of position, right? You charge, she javelins you, she gets slept, kind of lucky, right? Suzu gets popped. You're going to keep trying to fight here, walking out. But the problem is, you've already seen 3 of your teammates die. Okay, the correct call here is just to die. What do? You hold shield, and you start walking backwards, you start walking backwards, you start walking backwards, you start walking backwards. By the way, most of your team is spawned right now, right? The Bastion is the only person who hasn't spawned. Still walking backwards, still walking, and now you just died. This is a huge stagger, right? This is like a 10+ second stagger. Just because you tried to stay alive. All you had to do was just release your shield and just stand there and you would have been fine. By the way, if you aren't sure if there's supports behind you, one thing I never noticed you do is that you never do third-person peeking. Right? Remember, when your shield is up, you can hold shield. Like right now, you can hold shield and hold left mouse button, right? Attack, and you can look behind you and see that there's no supports, and then just release your shield and die. So this is just sloppy play, right? I would not expect this at a high diamond is to stagger that long in a close game, in a very close, like 10 seconds is a big difference, as you noticed at the end of the game, right? Okay, so 651. Okay, so you're over here. And the Torb is gonna push you, right? You're walking forwards, you get javelin, right? Shatter, we're not even talking about the shatter. So again, Genji blades here, you get the nano. Right? Is this a good nano? Right? You're getting pushed in, right? You get popped nano. Is this a good nano? No, this is a terrible nano. You see how you're not doing anything with the nano? Right? You did literally nothing with it. All you do is shatter, but like who cares? Like that nano shatter doesn't do anything. Right? Genji has blade, but he doesn't have like nano with it. He's just running around. Both of you are just being pretty silly. Do you end up taking this fight? You do, but that's a waste of a nano. You know? That's like a huge waste, but I feel like you and or your partner are way too obsessed with trying to make sure you get all the resources because you have this perspective like, oh, we're not going to win games unless I get everything. And like that might be true, but if you're not actually doing anything with it, then it's not true. Because again, watch this nano, right? We'll play again one more time. Okay, you're getting pushed by the Torb, and it gets a little nervous or thinks that maybe you can kill a Torb, right? You're just swinging infinitely. Obviously, it's a bad nano by her. She should have made that read to not bother nanoing you. Right? You do shatter, which doesn't do anything. Right? All you're hitting is a turret with this nano. Like, literally zero value out of that. So, let's talk about this shatter right here, too. So, look at this shatter. 650, 46. Okay. Swing, 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 swing. Okay. So, the Orisa's going to come out of spawn. And then you do a shatter right here. So number one, the Torb is actually going to die already. You might even be able to tell from the fact that he ate a dart and was going to die. But I can understand. Like, let's not worry about the part. Maybe you Shatter thought you were going to kill Torb. But I think the Torb is going to die regardless because he's way too low and in the open. 1. 2, the Orisa has already popped Fortify. This is not reactionary. She actually already had Fortify before you popped Nano. Before Shatter. I'll slow it down so you can see it. See? She's already popped it before you casted Shatter. So you should expect Orisa coming out of spawn. This is not a reasonable time for her to be popping Fortified to try to get forward. A. B. She's far enough away that, remember, Shatter is travel time. The farther away they are, the more time they have to react to it, and it's much more likely she will shatter and then block this. Okay? C. The Kiriko can be hit by this, but she's around the corner. So you personally cannot actually even kill her. Right? This is a really bad shatter. So your team wasted, quite frankly, Blade, Nano, and Shatter to get nothing. And that ult economy, right? I think one thing that you don't think about enough is ult economy. How many ults did we use to do our job? And the fewer ults we can use to do our job, the more ults we have for the next fight. And thus, you struggle to cap the next point because you don't have enough ults. Okay? It all feeds in together. Like I mentioned in one of the other problems with you, everything is intertwined in Overwatch, right? One mistake here can lead to another mistake, which leads to another mistake, which leads to another mistake. Not having ults now means that you couldn't win the next fight. If you can't win the next fight, the opposing team gets space. If they get space, then they have position. If they have position, they can constantly use it to prevent you getting in. Then they build more ult charges, and they build more ults against you, and then you don't win the game, right? Little things add up into big deals. I do want to highlight, instead of just simply saying, oh, shatters are bad, I want to highlight a good shatter right here. So, again, same general sequence. We're going to walk up here. Go for the Torb. I don't love this, by the way, but it's fine. So right now, you should shatter. Why? Well, the Torb is way in the open, right? And he's going to get help. You're presumably going to get the kill on the Torb. The Kiriko over here is going to get shattered, or she's going to have to Suzu herself if she's really good. But if she Suzu herself, she definitely can't Suzu the Torb. So no matter what, one of these two is going to get shattered. And the Mercy is low enough that you might actually also hit the Mercy too. The Orisa is also not here to interrupt you, right? And you can tell by the fact that you can see this sliver that the Orisa is not going to be here in time. So this shatter would have ended the fight much faster. Ultimately, it doesn't end up mattering that much because you take it anyway, but you didn't know that that was going to happen. So this is a better shatter than the one that you did at 654. All right, let's go to 730. So this is a really chaotic fight on the cart. And I'm going to slow this down. Alright, get good hit there. Alright, you kill the Torb, great. You fire strike into the ground. It's not so good. Right? You get bounced back. Right? Orisa's spinning you, so nothing you can do. By the way, shield does not stop spin damage. Right? She does a good job knocking you back. Right? One hit there. Hit. You miss another fire strike. Hit. Okay, now you're trying to get up to Lucio, right? You get booped, you should get back on the cart right away. Yep. So for the record, instead of going left, you should have gone on top of the cart. Because if you go on top of the cart, there's literally nowhere the Lucio can go that will stall cart, right? But instead, you go to the left of the cart, And now instead of killing Lucio, you're going for the Genji. You miss the Genji. You happen to hit him here, just honestly pretty luckily, right? You kill the Genji, who by the way is doing so well that you had to get a revenge on him. You could have killed him with Fire Strike right here, and you finally kill him. Why am I highlighting this? Because we're going to come back to this at the end of the game. A huge reason why you lose at the end of the game is that your mechanics at close range, specifically around the cart, are not very good. Your accuracy with hammer plus fire strike is only in like the 50 to 60% range, when really I would say at high diamond, like low masters, it should be at least 70 to 75, and once you enter like high masters, you're looking at 85 to 90%. It's not particularly hard to land hammer in particular, but like hammer plus fire strike is not that hard. But at the end of the game, they get a massive stall because you miss over and over and over again. So, we're going to get there. But remember this, because we are going to get there. Okay, we're going to look at 814. So, right here, this is a huge shatter. Why? The Orisa does not have Fortify, Javelin, or Spin. You saw all these things come out. Okay, and I know, because we could play it back, but you saw all these things go out. The Orisa 100% shattered. Torb 100% shattered. Genji 100% shattered. Mercy might even shatter because you probably just step out this door, right? Yeah, Mercy would have been shattered too if you shattered right there. This would have been a game-winning shatter right now. I thought it was absolutely crazy that you did not shatter this and instead chose the Fire Strike, especially when you had full ult charge. This would have single-handedly like won it right there, and then you would have been done, and you would have just coasted all the way because you could have blocked spawn with the whole team wiped. So that's a big opportunity that you missed. All right, let's look at level 1130. So another example where little mechanics, quite frankly, are just not strong enough at the level that you're trying to go to. Presumably, I presume you're trying to get the Masters, right? So one thing here is you're attacking too early. You're just swinging randomly instead of trying to actually target people, which means when you go towards the Zen, there's a slight delay because you're just swinging your hammer and you swing thin air. This swing was unnecessary, and as a result, you see how close you have to get to the Zen before your next swing starts? That's a mistake. And so you could shave about half a second on your kill time by simply of not swinging randomly and actually swinging intentionally as soon as they're about to get in range. So 1 hit, 2 hits, and this should immediately be a Fire Strike cancel. Instead, you have to swing again, right? And then he gets healed enough, and the Zen lives. So that's 2 different ways, either A, landing the attacks, the hammer swings earlier, 1, 2, Fire Strike cancel, that you could have killed the Zen. But you didn't, because your mechanics just aren't good enough. Okay? Very, very important to notice there. Again, your regular hammer, like quick kill mechanics, deathmatch mechanics are just not that good. Not as good as I would want trying to get into Masters. Alright. The next thing we're going to talk about is more macro-based. We're going to start from 11:15, and instead of looking at you specifically, watch the overall battlefield and watch what the Winston and the Genji are doing. Okay? Don't look at you. Look at what everything else is happening. You're just chilling on cart. Okay? Attacking. Your Ashe is going to get picked first. Great. Excellent. That's going to get rezzed. Right? We're chilling. Again, your Ashe gets another pick. Great. Right? DPS are doing work, right? For sure. DPS are definitely doing work. Winston comes in. Right? Your Mercy flies out, because the Winston's going to force her out, right? So the Mercy, I think, is overextended here, right? She comes in to try to heal, overextended, right? Winston comes in, goes on top of her. She does a pretty good job trying to stay alive here. Chases, right? Jumps, she messes up her movement, dead. Not good, right? There's the tank getting picks while you aren't, right? Again, look, you should have killed the Zen right here. Look, he's got 30 health right here. This should have been a kill with a Fire Strike cancel. So again, their tank is getting picks and you are not. Right? You're also being basically pocketed right here by your Ana. In fact, you're definitely getting pocketed here by your Ana. So that's not it either, right? Keep watching. So Winston, I don't know what the heck these dives are, but he jumps. All right, you see the Genji goes on the Cassidy, right? The duel starts. You're going back to choke, right? Because you're getting forced back right now. Again, Genji comes up, fights the Cassidy, right? Cassidy, by the way, killed the Zen. Then Winston comes up, and they confirm the kill. So dive, and this is a great example why Brawl can be very difficult against dive on maps with verticality. They're getting picks behind you that you can't do anything about because you lack their mobility and peel. If you were playing D.Va, for example, that Winston never gets either one of those kills, right? D.Va would have completely shut this down. Winston could have deflected the Genji really easily and put a lot of pressure on the backline, for example. Probably couldn't have saved the Mercy, but like you could have done a lot more in general. Actually, maybe you could have saved Mercy because you put pressure up front. So this is the problem with Brawl, is it's okay to play Brawl against Dive, but you better be getting kills if they're killing your backline. That's what I call racing. But you just don't race well because your mechanics aren't good, and it's not a good map for it, right? They just kite you backwards, so your Rein swinging at air, and the Winston and the Genji are going behind you and getting kills. And so you not only struggle against the Orisa matchup, but you also struggle against the Dive matchup. And these are real limiting factors to preventing you from growing at the game until you see, like, hey, I just can't do enough as Rein in this situation. I don't think people play Rein all that typically on this map anymore for this reason, because it's very, very vertical. Right? Again, you get stuck in a situation where you can't do very much. Okay. 1203. So, right here, you could shatter, right? The Winston doesn't have... Alright, I'm going to rewind a little bit, just so that we can see the whole timing. So I knew this because I played this live, right? Like, I didn't like stop it. I played it out live, and I knew right away that I would have shattered right here. So you go back, you get healing. Great. Right? You walk through, shatter right on. So why do I shatter right now? Number one, the Winston's right in my face, and I know he doesn't have bubble. Not that it would be really hard to block bubble here anyway, because you saw the bubble expire as you were walking in, so you know there is no bubble, A. B, the Mercy is on the ground, so the Mercy is getting shattered. C, the Genji is about to fall too, and it's likely going to get shattered as well, unless he dashes out of the way. The Winston technically has jump here, but it would be so difficult for him to jump out of the way of a point-blank shatter that I think it's incomprehensible. I think even a GM, assuming I shatter like right as I come out of this doorway, I don't think this Winston can get away. I just cannot imagine that a Winston could be fast enough, like unless they're like top 500, top 100, to get out of the way faster than I could shatter right here. This shatter is fight winning. All three, right? Bam, Winston probably dies from contact from shatter. You kill the Mercy, right? You probably get the Genji low and he dashes away, fights one. Big mistake not to shatter here. But let's assume that you don't decide to shatter here. Okay, again, I think it's just a mistake. So the Winston's going to come. Playing low ground does nothing for your team right now. Right? There's nobody behind you that's really going to make any use of this. The Winston's going to jump high ground, which is really smart by him. Honestly, these are really bad jumps by the Winston. Clearly, the enemy tank is worse at Winston than they are at other tanks. The second this happens, you have to go up, or preemptively have gone up, to force the Winston off high ground. Because you see the Winston is preventing your whole team from walking forwards right now. This is space creation. Like, this is nothing fancy. This is honestly a terrible jump by the Winston, but it's good position, but the technique of the jump is really bad. And your whole team has to go backwards because Winston and the bubble are zapping you back. If you'd been up here the whole time, you could have forced the Winston back, charged them off, anything to made value. And you don't end up contesting here, right? This is definitely a contest and die on point. Force out your shatter, force out their resources, right? Make them fight for this point, because otherwise, like, it doesn't matter anyway. You have short spawn, right? Take a risk here and fight right here. Because the situation, this is not a great place to hold. It's relatively easy for them to push through anyway. So I'd rather fight here with a good opportunity, right? Not like 1-on-5, but like you had 4 people there with the Ana walking up. Okay? I'd rather fight right there, force out everything that we possibly could, and then reset and then play high ground. Which, by the way, since you play Rein, you never play high ground. Which you're quite lucky through most of this game because they don't actually use it very much until now. Alright, next up. Let's look at 1308. So, you're standing in the front. You're going to see the Winston go. Okay? You should immediately be like, okay, my job as Brawl is either to kill the back line or peel the diver. You do neither one of these things. You walk backwards here, wide of the angle, instead of playing close to the angle. If you thought he was going to land like here, you wide of the angle, you should be right here, swinging, charging, attacking the Winston. Instead, you're just over here doing literally nothing while the Winston's getting your Cassie low. Cassie gets super low. Sim pops a bad wall. This is 100% on the Sim for a bad wall, but it's on you for not having peeled the Winston as well. Make the game easier for your teammates by simplifying their reads. Reducing the pressure on them makes it less likely they make these bad mistakes. Sim's afraid that Cassie's going to die. Obviously, this wall's not going to stop them from Genji, but she might be afraid that there are people walking up about to shoot them. I understand. Like, it's not a good wall, right? It's not a Master's Sim wall. Okay. Also, for the record, your Sim might be a Genji main, right? Or Genji one trick who's not playing Genji because they never get nanoed this game because you get eat every single nano. But that's besides the point. So, anyway, right? This bad wall gets forced out, so you're -1 ultimate because you're simply out of position. This stuff adds up. It really, really adds up. So now, watch what you do. Winston starts attacking your team, right? He pops Primal. The correct move here is to zone, right? Winston does very little damage with Primal unless you're like one of the top players in the world. It's very, very hard to kill anybody as Winston when their supports are alive. So the Winston's not going to kill anybody here, most likely, right? As long as the Mercy heals here, the Ana should not die. All you had to do was hold shield, or frankly shield hop, backwards, and you were good to go. And this fight is won. The Winston wastes Primal, right? And then you win the fight. Instead, let's look at what you actually end up doing. Swing, 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 okay? Winston's gonna pop Primal here. So again, correct move, just shield hop backwards and you're good to go. You push into a 1-on-3 situation. Reaper chunking you, right? Big meat shots get you low. Your Ana gets bounced around, right? Isn't sure what the heck's going on, thinks you're gonna die, pops Nano. This is a really bad Nano. It's yet another bad Nano forced out by your own poor play. Your overextension in the situation made your Ana nervous. Like, she shouldn't have popped Nano. You actually were fine. You probably just getting healed out of this. But again, she wasn't sure what the heck was going on, so she pops Nano. And what are you going to do with this Nano? Right? Great, you kill the Zen. Cool. I mean, but like, look, the fight was already won anyway. Winston Primal has already been forced out, and he's not going to do anything. The Sim has killed the Genji, and then High Noon kills the Winston. None of this matters. You didn't need this Nano. This is yet another great example of how your ult economy is poor between you and your partner. You're consistently forcing out ultimates that you do not need because you're out of position or you made a bad decision. All right. So that's going to stop it for most. I can assure you the rest of the defense is like relatively bad, and I encourage you to watch your defense and specifically compare it to your offense as to how many bad decisions you make. But I don't have time to cover this whole thing. So let's go all the way to the end. 26-50. So wall happens right here. This is obviously a bad wall, right? But that vortex was really bad. That wall was up by the time you popped vortex. You should have popped vortex after this, if anything. But then you pop the shield. This shield is even worse. This shield's obviously not going to do anything. Like, everyone's going to walk to the shield right away. Like, there's 3 seconds left on the cart. Like, they have to run to the cart. You see, the shield does literally nothing. And this is going to be relevant a little later. Okay, so we're going to watch out the rest of this fight. Blah, 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 right? Attacking, attacking, attacking. So you should know by now, by the way, that the other Rein should have shatter. Rein, by default, should get shatter every 2 fights. It's one of the fastest farming ultis in the game. You should know the Rein has shatter. Okay? You pop Nemesis, punch, right? You missed the punch there, right? So when I see this, and watch what the Rein is doing, okay? Mei's ice blocked right here. Watch the Rein and look at his positioning. Do you see how he shifts over here behind the Mei? This is shatter. 100% this is shatter. Like, at high diamond, you should have read this right away and been like, shatter is coming right now. Okay? Option number 1 would have been to simply move out of the way, which would have been okay. I mean, not great, but at least it shows that you recognize that the shatter is coming. Option number 2 is to cancel Nemesis form early and pop shield right here to block the shatter. I think that is probably a high masters, low GM level move on PC. I think this is PC. Okay? You see how you have 2 seconds left on the shield? Remember I told you the previous shield was bad? That's why it's relevant right now, because you don't have shield when the shatter is coming. And again, to me, it was super obvious that the shatter was coming. From the way the Rein was positioning, it was very unusual. It was very clear that he was looking for shatter. And now you get shattered. Again, I don't know that you could have saved the Mei, right? That's a bad location for her to be ice blocking. I mean, on contact, probably would have killed the Mei anyway. I'm just noting that this is not a thing that you were looking for, very obviously. So, we're going to play this out. Again, you clearly went Rammatra because you're like, oh, I want the ulti for overtime, which I understand. I don't think it's as good as people make it seem, but sure, like, great, we'll take it. This starts the beginning of your problems, okay? Which tell me, also, I don't think you're as good as Rammatra as you are at Rein. I bet your Rein is better than your Rammatra. If you had the one-trick Rein, I bet you would probably drop SR from Diamond 2. So let's watch right here. So you make probably one of the most, like, common mistakes I would say in Rammatra is you have ulti right now, but you also have Nemesis form. Almost always, I would say 95 to 99% of the time, you should pop Nemesis form first to force out enemy cooldowns against you, and then pop ultimate to refresh your armor, especially now that they patched it so you automatically get the armor, then pop Nemesis after it to give you back that health, and they have no cooldowns to stop you. Instead, you go straight into ulti, right here, which means you wasted your opportunity to get a free Nemesis form out. Okay? Also, you're going to miss a bunch of punches here. But we're not going to obsess on that too much. Right? I think the aim is still okay enough that I can see you getting low masters with this aim. But you're going to miss a whole lot of punches. Okay? Again, imagine that now you were able to pop ulti, right? And then you get another 225 armor. You know? And then you wouldn't be blocking, and you could be punching people down to death. And ultimately what kills you is the Rein gets rezzed behind you, which wasn't your fault. I don't blame you for that. Okay? But you could have gotten so much more value here if you had an extra 225 armor. That is like a very basic, like Rammatra 101 level mistake to make. Finally, 28-18. Let's go to the very end of the game. Remember, on second point, when you're on offense, I highlighted how bad you were at killing people on the cart quickly. Let's just play this live and watch it. I'm not gonna say anything, I'm just gonna play it live. As soon as the Rein gets here, it's over. So, I'm sure watching that back probably felt really painful, right? You missed so many hammer swings. And it's not because the Mercy can fly, you just straight up missed them. So many, so many. So we'll start back from here. Okay? Sorry, even further back. So it starts with the Rein, weirdly enough. So we'll play at half speed. So, 1, and then you miss. The Rein's point blank, you miss. Okay? Which is a big deal, because it takes you 2 swings later on to kill him. 1, right? Then you miss again. Okay? Those 2 swings would have killed the Rein before you even got charged, which would give you a chance to kill other people. Right? 1, 2, for the record, you could have Firestrike canceled there to kill him faster. Firestrike was never going to land. It was very obvious he just got a kill, so he's going to dash. You should have to read Genji behavior. Then, you see the res, you should have gone left side of the cart. Instead, you go right side of the cart, which was a huge mistake. So, res goes off. Now you start going left side, which is weird because once you're over here, it's better to just simply go to the back side of the cart. Again, it's overtime. They have to stand on the cart. So you go up to the soldier, right? You hit the Genji, great. You barely hit the soldier, and then because you jump backwards, you miss the soldier with this. And you still could have killed him with a Firestrike cancel. Right? Now you finally kill him. You missed the Mercy. That's okay. Just jump on the cart and hit the Mercy. Right? Like, she doesn't have GA right now. Just literally jump on the cart, 1 hit, Firestrike, game's over. That's all you had to do. So you miss again. Then you miss again. Then you finally hit her. Again, you can use the little steps here to get up on top of the cart and stand on top of the cart. This Firestrike, I understand you're missing. That's a tough Firestrike. Okay? Again, just force the Genji off at a minimum. He dashes through. I think you could have charged right there, for the record, because he has no dash. Okay? You miss another Firestrike. More missing. And again, when the Genji's away, you could just climb on the cart and just kill the Mercy. Somebody needs to stand on the cart. And then, finally, this happens, and once this happens, because your team has short spawn, the Rein just walks in, and just, you know, everything goes awry from there. And then you just, I think they have more ultimates and just win the rest of the game. So, again, I want to highlight, there's a lot of mistakes happening here. All the time. All the time. So many things that you can improve upon. That I hope this is helpful, right? And I also want you to think a lot about how you play with your duel partner and how that might influence your perspective as to whether or not the DPS are doing something. Because it was very surprising watching you get nano after nano after nano, especially in bad situations, and your DPS never get the nanos, right? Like, you refuse to give your DPS the nanos, and as a result, your DPS don't do nearly as much. Okay, I'm gonna stop there.